All right, looks like we are live. Welcome everybody. By the way, I forgot to link your channel. I will link your channel below. I'm not a douchebag. I'm not going to not link your channel. I just didn't get to it yet. But your channel is, I think, Old World Florida. Is that correct?
That's right, Jay. Old World Florida on
I have,
YouTube.
I have with me today Dr. Narco, and I'm assuming that's not your real PhD title, right?
No, I told you could call me Connor if you wanted to.
Okay,
That's my real name, Connor. But that's just my YouTube kind of pseudonym.
gotcha. And can I ask like what it refers to, or is that is an inside joke or something?
It's just the letters of my name rearranged into a kind of Spanish
Gotcha. Okay.
Irish
Right.
name.
Welcome everybody. Is the sound good? Can everybody hear what we're discussing? If you can hear me, let me know in the chat. Make sure the sound's good with him too. And he hit me up today. I think he had messaged me a while back, or one of your buddies has. I can't remember, but with the possibility of discussing our worldviews. And today we got into a discussion about vegetarianism. So I have an opening statement that isn't that long, or you could go first. But before we get into the discussion of who Jesus is, worldviews, all that kind of stuff, do you want to tell us about yourself and what kind of stuff you cover? And then I will later link below so people can follow you if they're interested.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Jay. I appreciate you being polite. I run the Old World Florida YouTube channel, and that's pretty much like Florida history, but tending towards the esoteric, conspiracy theory, hauntings and Atlantis, stuff like that. So, yeah. And we talk about Christianity sometimes. We talk about holistic health, and that's pretty much what my channel's about.
Gotcha. Now, can you guys let me know? Are you guys able to hear? Is everything good? This is acting weird. I can't tell. So I got my monetization back, so it's all different now. But all right, so today we had a disagreement over the question of vegetarianism, and we'll kick that off. I'll go first if you don't mind, and then I'll let you have the floor. You can make whatever argument, say whatever you want. I would say that that it's not possible that Jesus is a vegetarian, and my argument would be that if we begin by looking back at the book of Genesis, in Genesis 9, God says to Noah that he has the ability to eat animals now after the flood. This was not something that was allowed prior to that, but you have a specific allowance that's made in Genesis 9. When the law is given, and the law is not given by a different deity unless you want to adopt what's called Marcionism, and that would have its own set of problems. In Leviticus 3, there's the peace offering. And in the peace offering, it's considered to be a covenant meal. It's a ritual celebration where the person brings a sacrifice, which is an animal, and that animal is sacrificed, cooked, and it's shared by the priest and the communicant or the ritual worshiper. Likewise, in Exodus, when we come to Exodus 12 with the Passover, we read about the lamb that's slaughtered. That's a symbolic sacrifice representing the offering, again, like in Leviticus 3, the peace offering, but this time it's an offering where it's an innocent victim that's sacrificed and eaten that is shared by all of the Jews. And then as we move up into the New Testament, when Christ, the Messiah, comes, he fulfills all of these ritual symbols and actions. And in one way, one way that he does that is that he keeps the law of the Old Covenant, because we would say, and I can argue this textually, that he's the one that gave the law in the Old Testament. So in other words, Jesus is the one that gave the laws in Leviticus and Exodus about what ritual sacrifices and meals were to be had. And so when Christ lists himself as the Passover, that's another affirmation that he was the one that was intended by the meal, the sacrifice all along. Thus, it could not be possible for Christ to be the Pascha, as we call him in the Orthodox Church, which is the Greek term for Passover. He couldn't be the Pascha meal if he wasn't the fulfillment of the actual eating of the animal in Exodus 12. Likewise, in the New Testament, we have Jesus after the resurrection eating fish with his apostles, which shows us that he does not, even after the resurrection, reject the possibility of eating flesh or eating meat. The church also had to deal with this early on in the days of Paul. Paul wrote to Timothy and pointed out in the first, I think it's, let me see, it's 1 Timothy 4. Paul, 1 Timothy 4, Paul says that people will forbid marriage and the eating of meat, which is a doctrine of devils ultimately. And then in the early days of the church, we have the statement from St. Hippolytus of Rome that there's also with us Indians, the sect of those who are called Brahmins, and they abstain from living creatures and all cooked food. And this is in his section describing the heresies that the early church rejects. Up into the 7th century, when you read about what St. John of Damascus wrote, on the heresies, he lists a bunch of early church heretics, such as the Ankratites, who forbade the eating of meat. And for that reason alone, that was enough to castigate them underneath Paul's rejection of a Gnostic group. Likewise, in Luke 5, we read about Jesus telling the apostles to cast their net on the other side, and they catch a large load of fishes, which wouldn't happen if Jesus was a vegetarian or vegan or whatever. And then we have Peter's vision, which we believe comes from Christ, where symbolically the animals come down. Peter is told to kill and eat. Now, there's many more examples, but these are just kind of like the brief summary examples of how Christ is the one who gave the commands, both in the Old and the New Testament, that it's okay to eat meat. I apologize, I'm a little sick, so if my voice and if I cough a lot, it's because I've got a cold. Feel free to go ahead.
Carnivore diet got you down? Okay.
No, I don't think I don't have a cold because of a carnivore diet.
Okay. Well, you bring up some good points. And I'd just like to say that from the beginning, man was created vegetarian. Jesus came to redeem us and set us back to the Genesis standard. I don't think it's Christian-like of you to use Exodus or Leviticus to justify a diet, when in fact, you look at Jesus' own teachings, he would not do the same. He would take it back to Genesis and say, from the beginning, it was not so. I think you'll agree with that. Jesus, from the beginning, he's all about setting us back to the Genesis standard, which is Genesis 1:29, fruit and herb bearing seed. Kills nothing. It's the optimal human diet. It is the original human factory settings. But just to state my position up front is Jesus was a vegetarian. At worst, or best in your case, he may have been a light pescatarian. He may have had a comfort with fish. But I think we're going to show that his place of birth, the community he was a part of, his family members all point to a vegetarian diet. Not only that, you belong to the Orthodox Church. The Orthodox Church puts a heavy emphasis on a vegetarian diet. And we can get to all these points, later on. But you bring up Timothy 4. Timothy 4 has to do with meat. It does not say flesh or corpse. Timothy 4 says, they will eat herbs, right? It's down to herbs. Is that true? I think we're on a time lag here, by the way.
It says abstaining from meat, so I can look up the Greek word if you want.
Right. So meat does not mean all flesh. Going back to the Genesis definition, meat means fruit and herb bearing seed. It's not until Noah gets off the ark. And by the way, you bring up Noah.
Well, hold on. Where do you get that meats is herbs and seeds?
Genesis 1:29, herb and fruit.
What is the definition? Wouldn't we look up the Greek word for meats? Why would we go to Genesis about seed?
From the beginning, we were created fruit and herb bearing seed. That's what meat means. There's a later.
Where do you get that?
In the Noahide laws.
Where do you get that?
It's in Genesis.
No. Where do you get that the word meats is seeds.
That is the broad Christian interpretation.
So
That meat
where
just
where is
means
that?
food.
Says who? I mean, I can look at the Greek right now.
Well, the burden of proof is on you, I guess.
No, the burden of proof is not on me because it's a ridiculous, outlandish claim.
Meat means food. It does not mean flesh or corpse. That's the biblical definition of meat. I would press you to prove
No, I'm looking at it right now. The Greek
laws.
the Greek word is broma, which means actual victuals or meat, according to the Blue Letter Bible, the Greek term broma.
King James Version, you've got meat meaning food. Every English version of the Bible, except your Americanized carnivore Bibles.
This is Thayer's Greek lexicon. What are you talking about?
Meat means fruit and herb bearing seed.
The Greek word that's used in the New Testament in that text.
Are you resting?
Where
are
Paul?
Are you resting your position on the definition of Greek definition of meat?
Wouldn't we look to the Greek definition in 1 Timothy 4?
The Hebrew interpretation and the early Greek.
Well, hold on. Why now you're going to? Why do you talk about the Hebrew
What?
interpretation?
No.
Why would I need the Hebrew interpretation of Paul?
I've got a loop on myself where it sounds like I'm arguing with me and you.
Why would I look to the Hebrew interpretation of Genesis when I'm going to what Paul talks about in 1 Timothy 4 when he wrote in Greek?
The early Christians all.
What early Christians? Give an example of this. Cite one. I cited you the early Christians like Hippolytus of Rome, who says that it is about actual flesh that's forbidden.
Now, did
I say that about
Origin?
Origin is a heretic. Origin is a heretic. It doesn't matter what. Origin is a heretic.
They knew Adam and Eve were created vegetarian. You're not going to rest your whole argument on this. Adam and Eve.
You've not made an argument yet in response to anything.
Are you saying that Adam and Eve ate flesh? What was the original diet?
Did you not hear my opening statement? I said that Noah. Stop interrupting me. In the opening statement, I said Noah was given permission to eat meat.
Now that's actually a punishment because God caught him sacrificing animals.
No, that's your made-up interpretation. It's not a punishment. You understand this would lead to Marcionism, right? So, did Jesus attend? Did Jesus attend? Did Jesus attend Passover? No, they don't. You're making this up. You can't cite. I just gave you Hippolytus. I just gave you Hippolytus, who says that you're wrong.
Church fathers were vegetarian?
You can't name one.
That's not true.
I mean, I'm citing you. I'm citing you right now. Origin is a heretic, and so is Tertullian. So you cited two heretics.
Okay, you call them a heretic.
No, they're not accepted by the church. Either Catholic or the Catholic and Orthodox churches reject those two people as heretics.
Canonized vegetarian saints.
There might be monastic people who've taken a vow to eat that kind of a diet, but that's not the same thing as whether or not God permitted it or whether Jesus was a vegetarian. Did Jesus attend Passover?
He did not eat lamb. He proposed bread.
Is he the Passover lamb?
Sure, that doesn't
okay.
Mean he ate lamb.
Who gave the law in Exodus? Who gave the law? Who gave the?
Listen, the majority. Be quiet. The majority.
Don't tell me you're out of here. We're done. Tell me to be quiet on my. Who gave the law? Who gave the law in Exodus?
Give us a fair say.
So you're not going to answer. You're not going to answer. Who gave the law in Exodus? Did Jesus give the law?
God gave the law.
Is Jesus God?
Not one and the same.
Yeah, but he was the one in John 5. He says he was the one at Mount Sinai giving the law.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're an idiot.
He was a vegetarian.
All right, I think I'm back now. As I was about to say, Jesus in Luke 22, 7-15 attends the Passover with his disciples. Jesus is the one that gave the Passover. I mean, it's literally utter nonsense to think that there was some other God. That's why I said he would have to be some form of Marcionite if he wants to defend this position. And the Greek word, if you want to look it up, it's broma in Strong's 1033. And it is a reference to victuals. And for example, in Luke 9, it's used for, in the context of the fishes, to go and buy, quote, meat. I'm looking up the references. Paul uses the same term about meat, and it has to be specifically flesh in 1 Corinthians 8 and 1 Corinthians 10. And so meats and diverse meats is clearly talking about unclean foods and meats. Unclean in the Jewish context would have to be flesh meats, or else it makes no sense. So this guy has no idea what he's talking about. The only two people he cites are Origen and Tertullian, who are both heretics, which is ridiculous. And you're not going to come on my channel and tell me to be quiet. This was a complete waste. I knew it was going to go that way, but I thought it would still be funny to do. So now we got some super chats. I'm trying to remember how to do this. I don't even remember where it shows this. How do I even see the super chats? Welcome everybody. We got crap. Let's see. Does it show super chat? Oh yeah, it shows the super chats over here. Okay, dude, I've been so long without super chats that I don't even remember half of this stuff. You can still use Streamlabs, by the way. You don't have to use it. All right, let's see what we got going over here. Are you going to do channel memberships? Yes, channel memberships are turned on right now. Shout out to all the Chad members. We got Rough Hands. Shout out to GM, 90 Zebras, DC Woodworking, Slowboy Whiteboard. I will still use Streamlabs, she says. Well, Emmanuel, what's up, man? Apostate Prophet, Miss Apostate Prophet, excuse me. Shout out to all the new members. We got Synth, A, Ben Durham, Kyle, Rolf Stakes, Vane, Jethro, Jub, Prisoner's Progress. Dano says for $5. Hey, now the pay piggies can shine. Don't forget about the Streamlabs piggies, but this is just for fun. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Straight up Kip in here. ALC, $5. First super chat, Bishes. It was actually Emilion, our Serbian bro, but that's okay. You can have the dibs on second. Sleepy Neo, $5. I thought he was going to start arguing that Jesus used patchouli oil. I mean, I don't think there was any point going any further. JB, that was hilariously brief. Logical Podcast, $10. Hush us up. You hush up, Lodge. I know who you are. Rough Hands, $5. I won't use YouTube often, but I don't see that we are able to gift memberships. Is that just me? I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like a lot of YouTube, it's different, man. I'm not used to it the way it works now. So I'll probably have to go in there and figure out how to gift memberships. I don't know how to do that. Let's see. Participants. It's probably in the in the settings. There's somebody that's used to it or knows how to do it. Go ahead and tell me what you do. I'm assuming you go into MyJanate, $5. Soy Boy Vegan confirmed. More masculine than Reformed pastors. I do give that guy credit because even though his arguments were like tard tier, he at least came to debate, and none of the Reformed people had the cojones to actually step up into debate. So even the New Age bros will actually come and debate. Now he says, I don't like being called a New Ager. Okay, well, I mean, you're going to be you're talking about hippie Jesus, who's some form of vegetarian. I mean, okay, whatever. Amon Yaman, $10. Maybe some of the YouTube moderators can become ortho bros. I think some of them are, so I'm not sure what you mean, dog. You have to have a membership level for under $5 to gift them. Okay, I'll try to set some tiers down the road. I just felt like because of inflation, it was time to up the memberships a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, I've had $5 memberships since 2014. So, Chris sends $20. I like your channel. Thanks, man. It's nice to be back at the stage of having memberships again. The ads are all different. They seem to run different now. We got a Streamlabs running too. So let me do the Streamlabs over here. Icon of the Father, $35. Hey, I think you blocked me. Can I get unblocked? It was an accident, probably. YouTube takes 30% of super chats. My name on YouTube is Arrow. Okay, I'll look you up, man. Appreciate that. Icon of the Father sends another $3 and says, here's my channel. Storm the Cat sends $10 and says, I thought of a problem with dispensationalism. If dispensationalism is true, then why didn't the apostles in the New Testament try to build up Israel into a strong country? Why didn't they teach this to the early church? Yeah, that's an interesting argument. They would have been teaching the gospel of the kingdom and the earthly, monetary, military conquering of the world through a actual, physical, literal king. It seems like they would do that. Dano sends $5. Oh yeah, pay piggies can shine. Oh wait, that's the same one. CR Scott sends $10. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. Sigismund is a new member. Honey Badger BTC sends $2 and said, Jay's income is about to inflate like the price of Bitcoin. Hey, I'm just here to donate to the IRS, man. That's all I'm doing is when I get the IRS forms, I click to donate 10,000 times more. That's what I'm all about. But a little bit of a rehearsal because I think this topic is worth addressing. We haven't really addressed this in many years because when I first started doing streams with Tristan back in 2018, this came up a few times and we had to do a few streams on this and just to kind of rehearse what I was arguing. If you think about the God of the Old Testament being Jesus, which is very crucial to Orthodox theology, it's very, very obviously the case if you're Orthodox, then all of these things going on in the Old Testament, like the giving of the permission to eat meat in Genesis 9, it's not a punishment. No idea where he gets that. So what, being able to eat steaks is a punishment? No, dude, it's not a punishment. It's a gift. Okay, so Genesis 9, 3-4, it says, God blessed Noah and his sons. Now, did you hear what he said? That was a punishment. The text says, God blessed Noah and his sons. Prosper and reproduce, fill the earth. Every living creature will be afraid of you. Just as I gave the plants to you, now I give everything else, except for meat with its lifeblood. So that means you can't eat the blood has to be removed, but it's still a blessing to eat the meat. Okay. The peace offering. This is the only offering in the Old Testament where you eat along with the priest. And we read about this in the book of Leviticus and in the parts of the liturgy where the peace offering, there's a specific Psalm 22. It's sung during the peace offering. Now remember, it's Jesus that's giving the Levitical law. And it's not a punishment. And the peace offering is where you bring the meat to the priest. The priest does the blood draining in concert with what's in Genesis. I'm sick, so excuse my voice. And then it's cooked, and then you share the meal with the priest and with God. It's a covenant meal that you're eating with God. And it's a foreshadowing of the Eucharist, which is the eating of the flesh and blood of Christ. Now, notice that he's a vegetarian, but he doesn't believe in the real presence. Shocker, right? Because the purpose of these Old Testament sacrificial rituals and rites is to foreshadow the work of Christ, as the book of Hebrews explains. Thus, Jesus must be the Passover. And so you notice when I asked him if Jesus gave the law even though Jesus says in John 5 that he's the one that was at Mount Sinai giving the law, you notice he had to pause and think about that for a minute, right? Because, well, it doesn't work to say Jesus is a vegetarian if he gave people no, victuals, if you look up the Greek word, it's the same word that's used in Paul's discussions of unclean meats. So it's not talking about, and by the way, the church fathers interpret it the way I'm saying. That's why if you, let me read to you again, he said church fathers and he didn't have any except for 2 heretics. Let me read you a saint in the Orthodox Church, Saint Hippolytus. There are those amongst the Indians, a sect composed of philosophizing amongst the Brahmins. They spend a contented existence and abstain from living creatures and cooked food. They are satisfied with fruits. They are carried in the trees, but carry off those that have fallen to the earth. They subsist upon those, but they pass their life naked, affirming that the body is constituted as a covering to the soul by the deity. Saint Hippolytus of Rome, Refutation of All Heresies in the 2nd century. Yeah, so what? So there's unclean seeds, according to Paul in 1 Corinthians 9 and 10. How stupid that is. Adam was you could say, vegetarian, because no one ate meat until Genesis 9. That's when God gives permission to eat meat. John of Damascus in the 7th century, summarizing all the heretics before him in the heresiology book, describes the Encratites who got their theology from the Marcionites as condemned because they forbid the eating of animal flesh against heresies. Let me catch up on Super Chats. Do you think that a neo-traditional news, $5. Do you think a transcendental argument exists for aesthetics and architecture? The way that you deny objective beauty, then you get brutalism. Yeah, I think you could probably make an argument that there has to be an objective good and an objective beauty. Yes, I think the two would go together, and that would apply by extension to things like art in general and architecture, yes. Again, the word broma is what's used in 1 Timothy 4, and it's the exact same argument that Paul makes in 1 Corinthians 8 and 1 Corinthians 10 about unclean meats. There's no such thing as unclean food, idiots. I mean, there's no unclean seeds. This is just silly. Peach, $2. Yes, Adam was a vegetarian. But I mean, he didn't eat fish either, so he ate greens, presumably. Until Noah is given permission to eat meat in Genesis 9. Logical Podcast sends $10. Shout out to him. What's up, Jonathan? He says, sorry. No need to say sorry. You never have to apologize to me, Jonathan. Never. J. Dyer, $3. I read the Frauder 616 essay. I was blown away. Do you mind covering it again? I mean, I did a whole 2-hour talk on it, so I would just say go back and watch that. I don't know if I want to cover it all again. Do we need to be skeptical of its veracity still? I don't know if you need to be. I just can't prove it, so I don't know. I mean, it seems to line up with a lot of issues that have come up. And by the way, even if you did prove, number one, it doesn't make sense. No heretic's going to forbid you to eat seeds. Let's think how stupid this is. So in 1 Timothy 4, Paul is saying that there are heretics who teach to abstain from seeds. There's no heretics and groups that say to abstain from seeds. But there are plenty of Jews that said, and heretics that said, don't eat meat and abstain from unclean meats. So, yeah, we knew this was not going to last very long. And I would have kept going if he hadn't told me to shut up on my channel. Derek, $10. Any book or video recommended about Orthodox government? Ivan Ilyan's book, and Pabinatsiev's Reflections of a Russian Statesman. I want to get an idea of what it was like to be ruled by an Orthodox government in Byzantium or Russia. Well, you could read John Julius Norwich's book on the history of Byzantium. There's an abridged version. Stephen Runciman has a history of Byzantium. Why do you think Quilly did not understand Russian history? Well, I mean, he just sees it from a Western paradigm and it doesn't believe Orthodox Christianity, so. I'm still trying to navigate getting used to what it's like to have super chats on YouTube again. But I'll put in the chat for you right here. Here you can see Thayer's lexicon, which is the most well-known Greek lexicon for the New Testament. It's not even questionable. Here is a link to Thayer's lexicon. Yeah, this guy's argument would mean that there's unclean seeds. It's just completely stupid. I'm a formerly prospective convert to Judaism. I still eat kosher. Do I need to give that up? Probably. I mean, there's no reason that you're missing the point of the laws. So, I mean, Paul's very clear that it doesn't matter what you eat, because anything that we eat is Wade since 1999 says, I'm too dumb to comprehend a lot of these arguments, but you've inspired me to learn. Well, these are pretty simple arguments tonight. So Paul says that anything that we eat is sanctified by the word of God and through prayer. And so foods don't commend us to God, Paul says. You're not getting righteous with God. God is not pleased by you avoiding the shrimp and eating, whatever. It's not. He's still in the chat. All right. We're moving on. Where's he at? Just boot this guy, please. This guy's an idiot. Does anybody else have any questions while we're here? I don't know why the internet's so slow tonight. I don't care whether you said shut up or be quiet. It's the same difference. You're just wasting everybody's time with your third grade arguments. And by the way, when I ask you questions in a debate and you don't answer them and you blow past and you just keep repeating your position, no, it's not going to happen. What do I attend? Antiochian, OCA, Greek, Russian? I mean, I would recommend a Russian Orthodox Church out of those. Rachel Wilson since $20. Remonetize. Let's go. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. Is it viewer activity? What is it that tells me? Okay, so do we all see that what he's talking about with the word is just nonsense? He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the Thayer's lexicon right there. Paul is not Jesus. Did you not hear all the arguments that I gave about Jesus? I mean, what is wrong with you people? I don't understand, the disconnect here. And why is the internet so slow? Jesus is who commissioned Paul. Paul is teaching with the authority of Christ, and I gave you multiple arguments from Christ. Can some of you people not follow more than one argument at once? I mean, is that the problem? like what grade are you in? EB $20. Jay, I'm not as smart as you. But to tackle Protestant points on my own, specifically once saved, always saved, I'm convinced towards this heresy. I mean, have you read Hebrews 6? Hebrews 6 says that you can taste of the gift and be washed and fall away. Jay, I'm sorry you're sick. $10. It's just a cold, man, but thank you so much. Jonathan, you don't have to give me these $10. I appreciate that. Cards YT $2. J, be vegan and eat the bugs. I mean, no, these people are actually pushing the agenda. Alula $5. Congratulations on being let back into the club. Also, I realized the other day you look like Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm not sure who that is, so I don't know if that's a dig or a compliment, but I'm going to assume that Arthur Morgan is an E-Diva in the Wild West, because I know that's a Wild West game. So I want to remind you guys, too, that the webs that I have a members talk already up today. So I went ahead and did the part 2 of the history of British espionage during World War I, World War II. That talk is... it's not just British, it's also Napoleonic, German, and French espionage. That talk is for members, and so if you join, you get access to the membership tab, and you also get access to all the back catalog of stuff up until I was demonetized in 2020. I thought it was 2018, but it was actually 2020. It was 2018 the website was deleted. 2020 was demonetization. So I don't know why we have such a terrible connection tonight. Jethro since $5. Monetized and membership says 2018 all over again. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I should have opened it up to have some kind of like call in, or like I should have had like a Twitter space. What's for it mean truly forsake what does it mean to truly forsake the assembly? It means to give up on attending the public liturgy. David M, $5. I'm an inquirer and soon to be a catechumen. I've yet to ask my teacher. Yeah, that's what it means. By the way, we got up to about 1,200 tonight. If you guys would hit like, because we only got 400 likes. We had 1,200 people. What's up with that? What's up with that? And a little bit of a reminder that I will be live this weekend at Tampa. If you want to come see the lecture I'm giving at the Tampa Bay Screams Horror Convention. We get a good crowd there. My event is separate from that event. It's going to be at night, January 19th, so 3 days from now. And there's tickets to that right there. I'll be giving a lecture on the dark secrets of horror films. So we'll be getting into esoteric Hollywood. I will be at the convention all day at a booth. You can come get your books signed, buy books, etc. Jim Crow, $199. Nimrod Semiramis Tammuz, a.k.a. Jesus. I hope that you're joking, because that is literally like probably the dumbest super chat I've ever had on this channel. Like literally, it's so dumb, I almost probably shouldn't have read it. Wow. I mean, but I guess this is the crowd that we get with this sort of new age vegetarian nonsense. I mean, Jesus attended Passover, but he didn't eat. Just I think how stupid that is. Like, you can't participate in the ritual if you don't eat. I mean, this is like completely stupid. It's CHRO, not CROW. Polska Trucker, $10. I'm just stopping by to give you support. I was convinced of orthodoxy when you debated Pastor P. I've been attending a Serbian Orthodox church. Word up. That's good to hear, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, shout out to Pastor P for losing that debate. Everybody says I'm mean, but hey, look, I think I was pretty nice to Pastor P. JB Peltier for $10. I heard an interesting quip about Tsar Peter I forcing a beard tax to make the country more European. Is this demonic antagonism towards the clergy or not? My guess would be maybe. I've just never heard that, but it sounds pretty crazy. Shout out to Jake Rattlesnake. Props to you, dog, for having me on. Great channel, good buddy of ours, and thank you for the shout out there about getting remonetized. Appreciate that. Sorry I'm so sick, but I think this was like a knockdown case. I mean, the point about the seeds was really silly, as if there's unclean seeds. That's what his argument would lead to. But I think all the other arguments are like pretty like straight up. So I can't even see that there was even one good argument given. I mean, it's like Jesus takes us back to Genesis. Yeah, but that's in the eschaton. That's not right now. So, I mean, people in Genesis were nude. Are we supposed to be nude? I mean, this is the logic of nudists, literally. It's like, that's stupid. So, and it's another thing with pet heresies is that it's always like they find one verse, right? And it's like, every verse has to fit into that. And the funny thing about that, like, nobody interprets any text this way. Like, you don't go read Plato and pick one line from Plato and squeeze everything into that one line. You don't read Lord of the Rings and make all the rest of the narrative fit into one line. It's just obviously intuitively false and stupid. But every goofball heterodox person picks out one verse that they think is like some master key, and then every other verse has to squeeze into that verse, right? Like Muslims in John 17:3. We already went through the ancient heretics that believe this. I already cited the sources as to where, which was funny because I picked somebody from, I think isn't Hippolytus of Rome like 150, 180, right? So Saint Hippolytus condemns the Brahmins for their abstaining from meat. And then if you fast forward to the 7th century, John Damascus summarizes all the heresies prior to him. And he lists the Encratites as rejecting animal foods. And so those are heresies. Now, that's different than when people choose to live an ascetic life and they decide. But that's the very thing that Paul's talking about, is mandated forbidding of marriage, which is exactly what Gnostics did. It's exactly what the Cathari did in the Middle Ages. Peach, $2. Are you a young earther? Yes. It was only 45 minutes, but that's okay. Anybody, yeah, it's like the Bible has the word alien in it, so therefore aliens exist. Like, we're at that level. I mean, we're dealing with like the inability to do like word concept fallacy. Like somebody said today, I thought it was a great comment. They said, word concept fallacy is a great IQ test, like a filter for, like filtering out people that you don't want to deal with. So it may be easier to send a super chat with, the native code or whatever. But if you do want to use Streamlabs, you guys can all still use Streamlabs. No, I'm not a flat earther. So I don't know. Is this a bunch of new people to this channel? I don't know. Like, is this all an audience of people that have never been over here before? Which is fine. Welcome everybody who's new. But I assumed his followers, if they were over here, that they already left. By the way, here's where you get tickets. Also, remember the show sponsor is chalk.com, the best in supplementation. Head on over to chalk.com, choq.com. The link is in the show description. You get access to the best in supplementation. Nothing better than chalk.com when it comes to elite supplementation, choq.com. And use the promo code J40, that's JY40, to get 40% off. Or the promo code JAY44LIFE, JAY44LIFE. Eric says for $5, I used to be a black Hebrew Israelite, but then your breakdowns of the Bible, I realized orthodoxy is true. Hey, that's great. I didn't hold out a lot of hope. I mean, God's grace can reach anybody, but I didn't hold out a lot of hope for anybody in those groups because it's just such a really out there cult. I mean, it's like, it literally relies on like super low tier grammar mistakes. That Jewish means kind of Jewish. So, all right. Thank you guys. It was a lot of fun, I guess. It went about as expected. We could have gone on for longer if you didn't tell me to hush or whatever you said. Be quiet. Don't tell me to be quiet on my channel. And by the way, when you don't answer the question that I asked, that's when I bring it back and repeat. And if you keep not answering, that's it. So.